You can open your presentation. If you don't see it up there, let me know. And then give me just a minute to grab your rubric. So Dylan, your group volunteered to go next. Can you unmute and say hi so we can make sure we can hear you?
What's up?
Perfect. All right. Wait just 1 second. It looks like a few people are still typing in some notes about a pig. Our next animal is going to be a crayfish. If you want to put that name into your next note box in your document. All right, go ahead, folks. Take it away.
We're doing our presentation on crayfish. I'm Rainer.
I'm Lane. And Dylan.
I'm Dylan.
You're gonna hit the present button up at the top, really. Perfect.
All right. Crayfish classification. So they're part of the Animalia. So they belong to arthropods because they're invertebrates and they have an exoskeleton. The scientific name for crayfish is Cambus sp. There's a lot of different genuses. I think I counted like between 8 and 12, but the one in America is Pacificus. And the species that we did was Pacificasis lenidulus.
Crayfish habitat. They're found all over the world, but primarily found and known to be in North America regions. And they live in water areas with water. Crayfish typically live in ponds, streams, rivers, creeks, and lakes. And they live in warmer waters, often burrowing and digging holes underneath rocks or water-filled tunnels. And some bury themselves on land near sources of water. And most are typically submerged under rocks and logs. And their terrain is typically wetlands or even caves. And crayfish are detrivores. So that means that they eat anything they can find. They're slow moving, so they can't really catch fish or shrimp. So they'll usually eat invertebrate pellets or branched vegetables, or even fish food and algae wafers, depending on their climate or where they live. And what is their climate like? They mostly live in warmer climates and in fresh water, and some species live in colder climates, such as Alaska, but over half are found in America alone, and they are most known to be living in southern states, so where warmer areas are. And they can be found in Asia, Europe, and many more places around the world. And crayfish need a lot of oxygen, so when in water, they need a way out to breathe, so as long as they're not trapped under, they can live in that area.
All right. The primary predators of smaller crayfish and the eggs are fish and larger grown crayfish. Most adult crayfish are preyed on by large fish, otters, raccoons, mink, and great blue herons. The prey, they'll eat algae they find on twigs and rocks, plankton that's floating around in the water, and small fish they can quickly grab onto, and then there's the crayfish eggs that they will eat. All right, body parts used. Once they get the food, if it's something bigger, it is held and torn to pieces in a large pincers called cheliped and conveyed to the mouth by the smaller specialized legs near the head. They are an heterotroph, meaning it can produce its own food. It can't produce its own food. A secondary consumer, and they find their food in rivers and streams.
All right, so the gills let them breathe. Basically, so the gills are like a feathery, almost like tentacle type thing in the front of their body, and it traps the carbon and oxygen and lets them breathe. The crayfish have an open circulatory system, so it's just basically not a closed one. And the blood travels through the body. And the oxy is an opening in the heart that lets the blood come in and go out. So it's hard to see, but right in the front where it's pointing is the gills. It's like really feathery and almost weird looking. And then up there is the heart. It's like the pinkish looking area.
All right, in the digestive system, they have the cardiac stomach, which has a gastric mill in it, pyloric stomach, digestive glands, intestine, cheliped, and the anus. The cardiac stomach is in the head. It breaks down the food mechanically and has a gastric mill in it, which I'll explain on the next slide. And then there's the cheliped, which they can grab food with and tear it apart. The pyloric stomach. The pyloric stomach is chemically digests the food after the mechanical digestion. And it has the gastric mill in the other stomach, which is basically like sets of teeth. Intestine, intestine and digestive glands. The intestine is the little long thing you can see right there, and that just moves food through the body and breaks it down more. And the digestive glands are along the edges of the intestine, and they also digest the food. Finally, the anus, it just gets rid of the waste, and yeah. There's the drawing of all the parts of the crayfish.
Sources, yeah.
Are you active?
Well, I guess it. Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. Okay, so take a minute, type in a couple notes about the crayfish. All right, do we have another volunteer group? All right, come on up, Chloe.
Because I can see it.
You see your presentation on that list somewhere, open it? Yeah, go ahead, open that one up. So Connor, are you there and ready?
Oh, this is not
Yep.
yours.
No, oh, that must have been the first hour one. Okay, we'll find it. Yeah, these are just all the ones that were shared with me, so it's both ours. Yours must be the. Did you call it a skate or a stingray here?
I think a skate.
It's this one.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you turn it in, did one of you turn it in on Classroom?
I did.
Yeah, when they're turned in on Classroom, it like changes the owner and then it goes somewhere weird, so. Okay, give me 1 second to get my rubric set up. All right, go right ahead.
So we did a skate.
Okay, so the kingdom that skates fall into is in Animalia. Skates are typically rounded, diamond-shaped. They commonly have huge pectoral fins. Skate rays do come in many colors, but they are commonly solid colored or patterned. A new scientific discovery was that skates have like a cartilage stem cell that enables skates to keep making new cartilages throughout their life. This is a new mutation that helps skates heal faster and like goes through can swim faster, which again is a new scientific discovery. The phylum characteristics, like I said, commonly have notochords. And a notochord is like a structure that has essential roles for like the vertebrate development. And notochords usually have like a midline signal and major skeletal development. And a hollow dorsal, which is like a skate nervous system below the notochord, as you can see in the diagram. And gill slits usually present on both sides of the skate. And of course, the classes that fall into is the cartilaginous fish. They're related to sharks, stingrays, and chimaras. Next slide. The order regiforms. They're typically flattened. They have very slender snouts, and the mouth is typically covered by a layer of skin. The family that falls into is the Regidae. Skates belong to the Regidae family, and skates are also related to sharks, but are from different families. And just like the sharks, skates and stingrays have very similar characteristics. And then the genus. The genus are native to both Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. A genus is like a group of skates in like one area. And they're commonly brown with scattered spot, but of course they come in different other patterns and different colors. Of course, they're also slightly larger, but some come in other sizes as well. And other species would be like the undulate ray, oscillate ray, blonde ray. There's also, this picture also shows a few other species that fall under the genus or skates.
They're found almost anywhere in the world, from tropical to near Arctic waters. On the map, the shaded region is a rough idea of where you can find them. And because of multiple locations, they don't have a specific climate. They typically prey on mollusks, crustaceans, and fish, and they do this by dropping on top of them from above and trapping them. And they're innocuous bottom dwellers, so you can often find them half buried on the ocean floor.
They're predator and prey. The skates prey on bottom-dwelling animals, which is anything like shrimp, oysters, clams, and other invertebrates. And then other crustaceans, which are crab, lobsters, and lake barnacles. They're found on the ocean floor. To find their food, they use their electroceptors, which is a sensory modality and is located on their snouts, as well as their touch and smell senses. To capture their prey, they will uncover the prey by blowing water out of their mouths and flapping their wings over the sand. Stingrays have fins that encircle their head called a disc. They catch prey by lifting up the front part of the disc, which draws water and prey underneath, much like a suction cup. Once rays have trapped their prey, they grab it rapidly, protruding their jaws, shredding and tearing it apart. And then the classification is heterotroph, and they're secondary consumers. And then not very many animals eat skates. After hatching, skates are eaten by not very many predators, such as sharks and other skates or other rays, and gray seals. However, since elasmobranch lack bone and otoliths, hard remains of these fish are rarely found in stomach contents of their predators, making accurate predictions of predation rates difficult to obtain.
And now for the body systems of them.
So how do skates produce? Skates are oviparous. They produce eggs that develop and hatch outside of the body. The eggs are laid in a hard case that are called mermaid purses. The role of the reproductive system is that They produce offspring to ensure like the survival and of course to grow their population and species. Of course, other organs and body parts of the ovaries, the uterus, the cloaca, and claspers. The claspers only are on male skates. Our dissection was a female, and a clasper would be typically how they transfer sperm to the female during reproduction. Next slide. So the ovaries, they appear as like a pair of like soft organs that typically contain large yellow eggs if ours had any. The uterus continues from the gland to the cloaca. The uterus is like a shell gland that dominates the reproductive tract. And the cloaca is kind of located around the bottom of the skates between the pelvic fins. And they're usually used for digestive, urinary, and reproductive systems.
For their respiratory system, this is how they breathe, and since they do it underwater, they have these holes behind their eyes called spiracles, and these draw in water into the gill chambers, which is in the middle picture. You can see the gill slits, and this creates water movement and respiration and gives them the oxygen they need. And for their circulatory system, the main function is through the heart. It's a 2-chambered heart located in their head region, and this flows blood throughout the entire body, and it's all through a closed circulatory system.
And then the digestive system, the role is just to break down their food. And then the organs involved is the liver, pancreas, spiral valve, and then the stomach and phyllotic sphincter. And then an organ that helps them survive is the spiral valve intestine. And then to the left is the liver, and the liver is at the top and also is under the phyllotic sphincter. And the spiral valve, its job is to concentrate. And then the spiral valve is right here, and its job is to concentrate the fatty reserves, and it therefore adds energy storage. And then the liver has elasmoid branches that act as hydrostatic organ by storing low density oils. And then the pancreas, which is that one, and it's between part of the stomach and the intestine. Its function during digestion, your pancreas make pancreatic juices called enzymes. These enzymes break down sugars, fats, and starches. Your pancreas also helps your digestive system by making hormones. These are chemically messengers that travel through your blood. And then the stomach, which is in the middle, it is under the liver and to the right of the pancreas. The stomach has a rugae, which helps increase its surface area. And then the phyllotic sphincter, it's the furthest to the right, and it controls the stomach emptying. It's like a screw, and it has a symmetrical shape within the valvular intestine, and then it adds surface area for digestion and absorption to an otherwise relatively short intestine. And then
All right, we have 8 more minutes. Is there one more group that would like to go today? All right, go ahead, have one up there. Let's close out of this one. All right, which one are you guys?
the mud puppy.
Okay, give me 1 second. Cheyenne, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, take it away.
Okay, so the animal kingdom of the mud puppy is the Animalia, and the characteristics are it has no cell walls, it's eukaryotic, and it doesn't have a chlorophyll. The phylum is the
chordata or chordate. And the characteristics are notochord, which like the cartilage rod, the dorsal hollow nerve cord, which just means it's not solid, extension of the spinal cord all the way to the tail, and then pharyngeal slits, which allows water to enter and exit. The scientific name is the Nectaurus malleolus, and that indicates that it belongs to the Nectaurus genus. And then the characteristics are it has 2 pairs of gill slits and no eyelids. And the species is a salamander. And the characteristics of a salamander are long and slender, and they have smooth skin and long tails. And you can go to the next slide.
Okay, so they primarily live from eastern United States to southern Canada. They live in fresh water, such as lakes, rivers, bays, streams, and canals. They need to have good shelter in their habitat, such as rocks, logs, or weeds to hide in during the day. They are cold-blooded, meaning that they adapt their body temperature to the temperature of the water around them. And then they eat small aquatic animals that they can catch, such as fish and crayfish.
Okay, so the mud puppy is a secondary consumer, meaning it has predators, and its main predators are large fish, water snakes, and birds. And then it also has a lot of prey. They are carnivores and opportunistic predators, meaning they will eat whatever they can catch. They mainly eat crayfish, insect larvae, small fish, and fish eggs, snails, aquatic worms, and other amphibians. They also use 4 limbs and a fish-like tail to capture their prey. And they have 2-layered teeth on the top of their jaw, which lets them grab hold of their prey. And they also have bad eyesight, so they rely on smell and to find the prey.
Okay, so the cerebrum, which is part of the brain, it's like the little red circle toward the head in that one diagram. So it's a part of a brain, and it controls your neural and your sensory function, so like smelling. And then you have the spinal cord, which is what the arrow's pointing to in the other photo. And that sends messages throughout the spine to multiple different parts of the body. And then the hypobranchial, which is at the center of the throat, and that allows the tongue to capture prey easily. And you can go on to the next slide. So then the spinal cord is also part of the muscular system because it's sending messages to tell the muscles what to do. So it's in both the muscular and the nervous system. And then the brachiometric is at the back, and it supports the gills. And then there's abdominal muscles on the belly, which helps the mud puppy to swim. And that's kind of shown in that other picture. The mud puppy's like belly's muscles are kind of hard to find, so I just got the closest, which is a salamander, and it tells you some of the abdominal muscles there.
I just want to pause you for 1 second, guys. We do have 3 more minutes, and I think they'll be mostly done. If the bell rings, please sit tight and listen respectfully until we finish this one, okay? Go ahead.
Most of the respiration happens through the skin. They get 75% of their oxygen and 90% of their carbon dioxide exchanged from the skin. They do have 2 pairs of gills on each side of their head, and those pump blood through the gills to get oxygen from the water. They do have a pair of lungs that they can use to take gulps of air and get more oxygen. They do have a heart right there, and that just pumps the oxygenated blood throughout the body. And then they have the blood vessels, which are the pink things, and they just transfer the blood throughout the body. And then their gills do adapt to their environment. If they live in water that is slow moving and has less oxygen, mud puppies have bigger, bushier gills to get more oxygen. But if they live in water that is fast moving with lots of oxygen, their gills tend to shrink and stay closer to their head.
So the role of the digestive system is to break down food to be absorbed and use this energy. So they first eat their prey with 2 layers of teeth to chew, which you can see in the top diagram. And then they have a stomach, which is here, which mixes and breaks down food. And then the stomach is attached to the small intestine, which absorbs nutrients from the food. That is mainly right here. And then the pyloric sphincter connects the stomach to the intestines, and it basically regulates the food that goes into the intestines. And then there's the large intestine, which is down here, which is attached to the small intestine and absorbs water from food and gets rid of the waste products. And then at the end of the large intestine is the cloaca, which gets rid of the waste products. And then you have the liver here, which makes bile to break down fats and filter poisons and drugs out of the blood.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. We'll finish the rest of it tomorrow. Nice work.
I'm gonna add so much to my crap now.
Really?
Ness-Deden.